before Silicon Valley, before Wall Street, before the Silk Road became a legend, there was a trade network so vast, so wealthy, that a single king's pilgrimage could crash the entire Mediterranean economy. His name was Mansa Musa. The year was 1324, and his casual generosity would destabilize gold prices for a decade. But this story doesn't start with Musa. It starts centuries earlier, with kingdoms you've never heard of, controlling resources the world desperately needed. This is the story of how Africa didn't just trade with the world, it built the world economy. Our story begins in North Africa, 800 BCE. The city of Carthage rises on the Tunisian coast, a Phoenician powerhouse that would make Rome tremble. Carthaginian merchants don't just trade, they dominate. Their ships carry African ivory, gold dust, and exotic animals to Greece, Rome, and the Middle East. They're the middlemen between the Mediterranean world and the mysterious kingdoms of the African interior. But Carthage isn't alone. To the south, the kingdom of Kush is already 300 years old, exporting gold, ebony, and incense up the Nile to Egypt and beyond. The Kushites control the Nile's trade routes. Their iron weapons are legendary, their archers, unmatched. Even the mighty Assyrians call them the Archers of Kush, with respect and fear. But here's what most history books miss. These coastal kingdoms are just the tip of the pyramid. The real wealth? It's coming from the interior. In present-day Nigeria, the Nok culture is mastering ironworking by 500 BCE. Their terracotta sculptures are stunning, but their real innovation is metallurgy. Superior iron tools mean better farming, better weapons, better trade goods. And then there's the gold. West Africa sits on some of the richest gold deposits on Earth. But these kingdoms have something even more valuable: knowledge. They know where it is, they know how to extract it, and they're not telling anyone. This leads to one of history's most fascinating phenomena: the silent trade. Arab merchants describe it with wonder. Gold miners leave their precious metal at agreed-upon spots. Traders place salt, cloth, and other goods beside it. No one speaks. No one sees each other. Just pure, mysterious exchange. Trust without contact. Wealth without conquest. This is African trade genius at its finest. By 300 CE, something extraordinary is happening in West Africa. Kingdoms are transforming into empires, and one resource is driving it all: gold. The Ghana Empire, not located in modern Ghana, but in present-day Mauritania and Mali, becomes the first great West African superpower. They call it Ouagadougou. The Arabs call it the land of gold. Ghana's rulers don't mine the gold themselves. They tax it. Every nugget flowing north to the Sahara, Ghana gets a cut. Every salt bar coming south from Saharan mines, another cut. It's brilliant, it's sustainable, and it makes them phenomenally wealthy. These trans-Saharan caravans are the Amazon prime of the ancient world. Camels, introduced around 300 CE, revolutionized desert trade. A single caravan might have 12,000 camels, carrying gold, ivory, and enslaved people north, returning with salt, horses, and Mediterranean luxuries. But gold isn't the only export. By the 1200s, cities like Timbuktu and Janneh are becoming intellectual powerhouses. Manuscripts on astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and law are copied and traded. The University of Sankore in Timbuktu has 25,000 students. And then comes Mansa Musa. Picture this: Cairo, 1324. The richest man in human history rolls into town with 60,000 attendants, 12,000 enslaved people carrying gold bars, 80 camels each loaded with 300 pounds of gold dust. Musa is so generous, so lavish with his gifts, that he floods the market. Gold prices crash throughout the Mediterranean and Middle East. It takes 12 years for the economy to recover. An Egyptian historian writes, "So much gold was current in Cairo that it ruined the value of money. One man, one journey." Economic crisis. While West Africa mines gold, East Africa is building something else entirely: a maritime empire. The Swahili city-states stretch from Somalia to Mozambique. They're not ruled by a single king. They're a network of independent trading cities, connected by language, Islam, and commerce. Swahili dhows sail to Arabia, Persia, India, even China. They export gold from Zimbabwe, ivory, mangrove poles, tortoiseshell, and enslaved people. They import silk, porcelain, spices, and glassware. And inland, Great Zimbabwe is rising. Massive stone walls built without mortar, housing up to 18,000 people. This is the capital of a gold trading empire that controls the interior to coast routes. By 1400, Africa has multiple thriving economic systems. West Africa dominates the trans-Saharan trade. East Africa controls the Indian Ocean network. And none of them need Europe at all. 1415, everything changes. Portugal captures Ceuta, a North African port. It's a small military victory, but it opens Portuguese eyes to something extraordinary: the wealth flowing across the Sahara. Prince Henry the Navigator becomes obsessed. If gold is crossing the Sahara from somewhere south, why not sail around Africa and go straight to the source? Over decades, Portuguese explorers inch down the West African coast. 1471, they reach the Gold Coast, present-day Ghana. The rumors are true. There's so much gold that they build a fortress just to handle the trade, Elmina Castle. But here's the critical thing. The Portuguese aren't conquering. They're asking permission. They're paying rent. They're negotiating with the Kingdom of Ashanti, the Benin Empire, the Kingdom of Congo. When Portuguese traders reach Benin City in the 1480s, they're stunned. A Dutch visitor later describes it. The town seems very great. When you enter it, you go into a great broad street, which is not paved and seems to be 7 or 8 times broader than the Wormoes Street in Amsterdam. Benin's bronze work is so sophisticated that Europeans can't believe Africans made it. The Oba the king controls all trade. The Portuguese want pepper, ivory, and gold. The Oba sets the terms. 1488, Bartolomeo Dias rounds the Cape of Good Hope. 1498, Vasco da Gama reaches India. Suddenly, the Portuguese have connected the Atlantic and Indian Ocean routes. For the Swahili city-states, this is catastrophic. The Portuguese aren't coming to trade as equals. They're coming with cannons. 1505, Portugal attacks and occupies Kilwa and Mombasa. The free-trading Swahili network faces its first European colonizers. But even with superior ships and guns, the Portuguese can't control the interior. They control coastal forts. African kingdoms control everything else. In Central Africa, the Kingdom of Congo actually welcomes the Portuguese at first. The Manikongo, Afonso I, converts to Christianity, sends his son to study in Lisbon, and establishes diplomatic relations. But by the 1520s, Afonso is writing desperate letters to the King of Portugal, begging him to stop Portuguese merchants from kidnapping his subjects for the slave trade. The Portuguese ignore him. What started as trade is transforming into something monstrous. The Atlantic slave trade is beginning, and it will drain Africa of an estimated 12 million people over 4 centuries. The Portuguese were first, but they won't be alone for long. By the 1600s, the Dutch, French, and British are all competing for African trade. They're not fighting African kingdoms directly. They're fighting each other for access to African markets. The Ashanti Empire in present-day Ghana becomes one of the world's great powers. Their armies defeat the British multiple times. Their gold trade makes them indispensable. The British offer treaties as equals. In Nigeria, the Sokoto Caliphate controls an empire the size of modern Germany. Their cavalry is legendary. Their Islamic scholarship is renowned. British traders negotiate carefully. Ethiopia maintains independence by playing European powers against each other and modernizing its military. They're the only African nation never colonized. But then comes 1884 to 85. The Berlin Conference. European powers literally draw lines on a map, dividing Africa among themselves. No African rulers are invited. No African voices are heard. Within 2 decades, ancient kingdoms that had traded with the world for millennia are reduced to colonies. The scramble for Africa is complete by 1914. Only Ethiopia and Liberia remain independent. But here's the bitter irony. Europe's colonization is driven by the same thing that drove ancient trade African resources. Only now, it's rubber, diamonds, copper, uranium. And instead of trade, it's extraction, theft. For thousands of years, Africa wasn't a dark continent waiting to be discovered. It was the source, the supplier, the economic engine. African kingdoms built trade networks that spanned 3 continents. They exported knowledge, art, and innovation alongside gold and ivory. They negotiated with Rome, Arabia, India, and China, not as subordinates, but as powers. The colonial era tried to erase this history, to pretend Africa was primitive, isolated, passive. But you can't erase Mansa Musa crashing the Mediterranean economy. You can't erase Swahili merchants sailing to China. You can't erase the University of Sankore's 25,000 students. You can't erase Benin's artistic genius or Great Zimbabwe's architectural mastery. Africa didn't start trading with the world in 1415 when the Portuguese arrived. The world started trading with Africa thousands of years earlier, and Africa showed them how.